Hi everyone, here's a fun little tidbit for you today. I'm just going to show you. I'm going to stand up so you can see my desk space. Okay, so that is how it looks right now. And then these are all those trays that you see me talk about. They are overflowing, and here's one that's teetering that I really should have over here. I figured, you know what, you got to see this so you have a better understanding of what I work like. So there's where my desk goes all the way to the end. There, you can sort of see the floor. So this is the tabletop, and there's a whole bunch of a little ephemera in there. These are projects and things that are organized for journals that I'm working on. Okay. Just thought I'd give you a little tidbit. You see how high this is. This has got to be, oh, I would say almost 3 feet high on my table with everything teetering. This is how I like to work. So this is a container that holds my Techniques Tuesday book and a bunch of other books. That's a shelf on the next table on the other side of this table full of stuff. My washi tape is up there. And so this is all sitting on my desk. So you can see these are those trays. Now I'm going to just take a step back and show you the rest of them. That's what they look like. So when I'm in a hurry to work, I can sort of grab and see what I've got to work on. So then there is the floor. I got this lady because she's part of this. But you can't see. Oh, don't look at my ugly slippers. These are my downstairs slippers. These are the piles on the floor beside me. Don't look at my slippers. And yeah, just some other papers that I brought from upstairs that have just come in. There's a bag of ribbons underneath my desk. There's stuff under my desk. I'm not going to show you that. But this is what I'm working with today. And so now I'm going to pause the camera. I'll be right back. I'm going to set it up so you can see on the top of my desk. I'll be right back. Okay, I can't believe I showed you all that, but yeah, it's done. It's too late now to go back and change it. So here's what I'm working on today, and this is why I wanted to show you kind of my process and my thinking. I'm only going to be a few minutes, but I had this paper. And I had, it was a scrapbook paper, and I cut it down to 8.5 by 11 to feed through my printer to print on the opposite side for some envelopes. I had 2 sheets of it, hit the print button, but realized I didn't hit the right command. And so when I printed on the back side, the ink bled because I chose too much ink. I should have chose a lighter version of ink. This isn't really... it doesn't absorb the ink as nicely, so I should have chosen a lower draft of ink to print on the back side of it. And because it bled like this, I don't know if you can see that, I of course couldn't use it. But there's nothing wrong with this side. And you know, this is why I have so much work all the time, because I can never quite let anything go. I have to play with it and come up with something. So I was making these journal cards, and I figured I'm just going to take you along with me to show you the process of what I'm doing. So I'm just going to take one, and I just immediately put glue on the other side of this, on the print side, because this is the nicer side. And it's just my little process, and I'm working right in a book, and I'm just putting glue all over this. And I'm going to glue it to this page into the corner so I save as much of that little blank margin, which you can't really see. Just to hold it down, because I sew everything, so I'm not too worried of how it looks. And so I work right in a book, you know, for this kind of work. Not for everything, but for this kind of work, I work right in a book. If I'm making journal cards and stuff, I just go continuously. And I'm going to trim this to the paper. And sometimes I keep these, but, you know, I've been doing so much work lately that they have been going in the recycling bin. There comes a point where I must let it go. Even though I love this wrinkly look. I have a million little wrinkly looks in this book, so I have to let it go. Sometimes I can not let it go, but so now I've got this adhered to the back, so it doesn't look like that ugly printed side. And these colors are so dark that you can't even really use it, even if it is you know, printed like that. So there again, because I'm turning this into a journal card, and I don't want the writing on the back. I want you to be able to write on the back. So I have some torn book pages, and you can see I have that ratty edge, but this is a very thick edge, so I'm just going to tear it off, I think. Yeah, I can tear it off. And I do go through my garbage bin at the end of the day, or sometimes the week, depending on how long it takes to fill it. And I sort through what goes into the recycle box. So this now I'm just applying some glue onto here. And yeah, this was a little bit pre-planned because I knew I was covering 8 of these, and so I did find some pieces and get started with doing that, you know, so that I could mass produce these. And so now I've basically covered the words. I think there was just a little piece sticking out there because I'm not cutting this perfectly straight. And these cards, no, I said 8.5 by 11. They were actually 8.5 by 12 because I was using the whole paper. I was going to fold over the 1-inch piece when I was done with the printing, making envelopes. And so now I've got it basically covered. You can see a little bit up there, but that's okay. I'm not concerned with that. And no, I never shut my glue. Half of the time I have to look in the videos to see where my glue went. And yeah, sometimes I'm mad at myself the next day because I leave one open. That's the way it is. So the next thing I've got is I've got these papers. Oh, I had another image here. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I have these papers that I bought a stack of them, and I have been sending them out in Happy Mail. That's why you're getting them if you've received some Happy Mail lately. And I'm just using it as a base to build on. Most of the time when I start out with a base, I don't really, you can't really see the base by the time I'm finished anyway. And I've come to realize that I really should be just using the ugly papers, because by the time I'm done, you can't see the nice papers that I picked out. So again, I'm just gluing this down to get it stuck down. This is just a base. So I'm not worried. I know I'm going to be sewing these down, and they will get sewn down a little bit better. I think that looks reasonably straight. And so I have this cute little girl image here. I'm going to glue her down, or trim her first. And I had printed a page of these to use in my art. And yes, I always leave my ink open too. I don't normally worry about getting ink on stuff because these aren't really juicy, and I purposely don't over juice them. But it was funny. Somebody had mentioned that I should shut my glue so I don't get it on stuff, and that was, I think, one of the very first times that I actually did was get something on there, only because I think I was jinxed. So I'm just going to layer down. I don't want to cover up too much of this advertising paper, but a little bit. And I'm just going to kind of glue her a little off center. She's not really the, you know, the main focus. I guess she will be in the end, but so I really, the reason I was using this paper to begin with, I don't like it, and so I was using it to make envelopes for Happy Mail by printing on the other side. So some of you will get envelopes and you'll see this design on the inside. It's not my most favorite paper, and it's thick, so it's not something I would use. And the colors are, although they're okay, it just doesn't appeal to me. And I have about 25 sheets. I think I got one of these specials where you got the whole package for very inexpensive. And then I decided I didn't like the paper, or, you know, maybe use it for a while and didn't like it. So I really don't care about this edge, and I kind of want to catch these edges and the edges from the back because I don't want this flipping up. So I'm just going to use some washi tape that I have here. Now, washi tape, I sew through washi tape, and you know what? I'm actually very impressed with most of the time washi tape doesn't gum up my needles. If I'm using a lot of it, like if I'm doing several envelopes where I've used washi tape to seal the edges, I will sometimes gum up my needle, but not enough to break the needle. I have broke thread, which is another story in itself yesterday. I have broke thread and then, you know, just take my needle and clean it up a little bit with my finger, and it's good to go again. So washi tape is something I will use with the sewing machine. Not fond of using it just with glue. So because I know I'm going to be sewing these, I'm not concerned about gluing it down. So it takes away that edge a little bit, and just complements the card that I'm working on here. I don't know how else to tell you that. And so I'm just going to do both sides. I'm not concerned about the top or bottom because by the time I'm finished decorating, you're not going to see much of the top or bottom. And then just rolling it over. And so this will now catch all of my edges on the two sides when I do my sewing. And then I will catch the edges along the top and the bottom with the sewing machine as well. So it's going to be secure no matter what. But I don't fuss about getting glue right to the edges because I use other methods, which is the sewing, and I don't always use washi tape. Sometimes I use tissue or napkins to wrap around. But you know, I like to finish with sewing. That is my thing. So the reason I wanted to show you this was I have, like, these are all scraps that I was working with that gold velvet. I don't know if you remember, but I had the seam along the one edge. So instead of trying to undo it, because sometimes there's so many threads, or they've used a serger to sew it, that it's almost impossible to cut or to salvage the seam as it is. So more and more now, since I've realized how much I like this, I've started just cutting my fabrics, especially when I'm buying clothing. I cut the fabrics close to the seam, and then I keep these pieces. This is a great start for a snippet roll, to add things on top. And it just goes in my bucket. And then sometimes, like this is one that I've sewn. So I just took some fabric and I just start sewing things on top of it. And it sits there until I want to use it. You can see I've wrapped it around, and it ends up being different colors in here. Might as well do the whole thing. As I go along, I just pick up stuff that I have in my pile and I start stitching it all together. And sometimes I keep going for, quite a nice round. Anyway, I keep this stuff because I love using it in my projects. And I love the shabby, rough look. We're making things that sort of look a little bit vintage. So I want to make it look like it's part of the garment she was wearing, or something that is related. In this case, it's not so much because it's yellow, but I really like the combination of colors that I'm going with here. So I'm just going to snip off a piece. And I know I'm not going to sew through this, only because I don't want to have sewing lines in the middle of my journal card on the back, because it's meant to write on. So for this, I'm going to hot glue, and I'm not going to hot glue it right to the end here, because when I stitch it down, I will stitch around first, and then I will go back and glue this down completely, because I don't want the threads to go through this. I want it to look like it's just kind of laying there. So I'm just running a little bit of glue here, just enough to catch it in place. And it's shabby as all get out. Like most of you would throw these pieces away. And these are I enjoy working with this far sooner than the garment thread. So just to give you a close-up of what it looks like. And then I just start playing by adding things like labels. I've got some labels here. These are in my coffee shop. I think they're even in the free section, maybe. I can't remember. And I have so many labels. I'm going to have a day of labels and strips, I think I'm going to call it. And I'm just going to add that in here just to break away that ugly green. I don't want to get rid of it completely because it just adds more interest, but I'm just putting that label in there. And yes, I work on this sheet knowing full well that I'm going to be gluing this down to the next page. So I don't really worry, you know, if it's a little bit crusty on the next project, because this will be the glue side that it gets glued down. So when I'm gluing this label down, I know full well that I'm going to catch it a little bit with my sewing machine when I'm sewing. But it just adds a little bit more interest to this. And there's a lot of blank space up here that I don't really care for. And I don't like the squareness of this card. So, you know, my first choice would have been to take another piece of this and you know, kind of frame it. But it just looks like I've done that on purpose. So I need to find something to break it down a little bit so it's not so noticeable. I have some tissue here. I could... and I saw this tissue in my shop. I could put that off to the side somewhere here. I'm not liking that either. Maybe in here. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to probably add a little blurby thing or something, a label or a butterfly. Since I already have a label on there, I guess I should dig through my butterflies and see what I can find. So now I'm moving some of these trays around to get to my butterflies. Yeah, I need to have a day of just cleaning up stuff. And these are all mostly larger butterfly pieces, but I do have smaller ones at the bottom, which is what I'm feeling around here for. Oh, here's one, like that one. That's a sticker. I also like this one because it's a different color. Oh, I like this one. This one's nice. I think this is a moth. So, yeah, I think I like this one. We'll see. Yes, so that takes away the squareness of my image. Maybe I will still use this little piece in here just to break off the although I like that one too, but I only want one butterfly, so I think that's the one, and I think it's a sticker. So first I'm going to just put a little bit of glue on here. Just to break that down a bit. And then I hope this is a sticker. I spend so much time trying to figure out if they're stickers or just vellum pieces that it gets a little bit annoying working with these things. So I'll be glad when they're gone. I send them out to you in Happy Mail because I don't like them. But I love butterflies, so it's a tough thing. Okay, here we go. I think I got it, yeah. All right, so I'm going to just put a little bit of glue on this because I don't want to catch this with the sewing machine. And this glue gums up your machine very fast, your needles. And that's where I break needles. But the washi tape is fine. It's not as... Okay, so then I have one more thing to do. Well, a couple more things. I'm going to round corner the edges. I don't always. This is just flavor of the month. As I tell you, some days I use this thing for everything, and then other days I don't see it for weeks because I've put it away, and I'm not going to ink now because I'm going to sew first. And I do want to, because I brought this in down here, I do want to incorporate it somehow up here. And so my first thought is to just glue a smaller piece up here to finish it off, knowing I'm going to put a tab up there. or I could use it for the tab, in which case I'd want a much wider piece. So I'm going to cut into this and make a tab. And I don't want it too long. I don't like them to stick up a lot. And so I'm just going to put a little bit of glue to hold it in place. And do the same thing on the back side. Now you see what I'm using. I'm using the scrappiest of scrap pieces in here. And it just, I love it. This is my thing. So in this case, I'm using it as a tab, and I will now take this to my sewing machine and I will stitch all the way around it, just a straight stitch. And sometimes I will go a little bit willy-nilly if I want to catch something. You know, if something was sticking close to the edge and I wanted to just catch it a little bit to know that it's going to be secure, I will. So I will do a willy-nilly stitch, or sometimes I'll do a straight stitch all the way around and then go back and do a willy-nilly one all the way around as well. In this case, I'm going to lift these up because I don't want this stitched down. I don't want that look of the lines stitching it down. And then after it's sewn, I will come back and glue these two flaps down. And I may play around with it a little bit more. You know, I have a little undecided yet. On the back side, I always like to put something, whether it's a label or, you know, a stamp or ink stamping. So I've got this label here. I don't really give it much thought because I have way too many labels. If I print another sheet of labels, yeah, it's one of those things, right? And so I will just add a little ink here, and I just like this to break up the back side a little bit. I like to put something so that I'm creating some kind of interest, whether it's even just a piece of this tissue. I can add that in there as well, just to use it up and to create some interest on the back. I'm just gonna, this is just giving you a glimpse of how I work. And this stays like this for a few, you know, sometimes a few days when I'm working, unless I'm filming videos, then I have to clear off this little section. Or sometimes I put it back as I'm working. So if I'm using a tool, I will put it away as soon as I finish with it, you know, and if I'm using stuff like this, I will wrap it back around the card and put it away. Till eventually my desk is cleared off, and then I start all over again. So this is now ready to take to my sewing machine and do the final stitching, and then I will ink it up afterwards. And you know, sometimes I still play, but for the most part I'm going to call it done. But I only have 2 left to do, thank goodness, and then I can move on to something else. But I did do one here, and so this one is done. And I've added the same, I used the same scrappiness and across here, and I just used one of my tabs. This was a fun piece of background paper because somebody had signed, it's the end papers in a book, and somebody had signed it. So I like to leave those signatures in the paper if I'm using it. So again, washi tape stitched around the edges, and then I went back and glued this down a little bit better. So this one, just a floral image that I had sitting here. And this comes, it's not one of my kits, it's somebody else's digital kit. And I used this purple. I just stitched around the pieces. In this case, I caught the stitching because I wanted to catch the label. And so I sewed around the whole thing. But I, again, used some washi tape and some of the purple and a little image on the back. Same with this one, another floral one, and I had a piece of this green sequined fabric. Here's the bigger piece that's still left over sitting here. So I just played on that one. Back side has a stamp and some washi tape. I did more washi on the back on this one than I did on the front. This one I used a bigger piece of that green with a stamp. Same girl image. I want to go back and add something to this because I don't like the corners. And I don't like cutting them out either because sometimes I want to keep the backgrounds. So I need to go back and unsquare it. Just like I unsquared that one. So that's a term that you must now use in your creativeness, to unsquare something. And I used this as the tab, and I did stitch across this one because this one's heavy duty and I was worried that it would lift. And so the finished piece is on the back, and I did a little bit more collage on the back as well. This one, just again, not quite finished. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't like this white sky, so I will probably bring in one of those butterflies that I had sitting there that I didn't use. Love this as part of my snippet rule that I showed you. And again, just some simple washi tape on the back. And in this case, I wanted to catch the washi tape a little bit, and I did want to catch this stitching because it's a little bit heavier stuff than the yellow. So this one I wanted to catch with the sewing machine to secure it, and just had fun playing. And here's one, not my favorite. She's missing something. I can't quite grasp what it is yet, but I will go back to her a little bit later and see what it is that's bothering me. I'm not quite sure. I think I don't like this space up here, but I don't want to add any more fabric into it. There's enough of that in there. So I will find something to bring it all together. It's not quite there yet for me. But on the back side, I carried this label over to the back because I didn't want to use this whole label on here. I didn't want to take away from the words and the advertising in the background. So I just brought it to the back to just give a little bit more interest. And this was the end of a roll of washi tape. So I said, good, let's use it up here. So that's where it got used. So that's just to show you how my thought process works. And so what I will do with these when they're pretty much done, I mean, most of them are what I would call done, just a few little fine tuning to do, is I will kind of color coordinate these into some bins that I have where I put kind of all the purpley things and all the gold things. These are all my colors, so it really doesn't matter. And I will remember that there are some in this color box that I might want to use in a green journal, and vice versa. But I kind of group them into different groupings in my filing system so that when I am putting something together, I can quickly go to it. But this is finished ephemera that I use in my journals, in my projects. Depending on how many I make, I may have a few that I stick in another container that I put in Happy Mail, or, you know, that I gift or that I sell. But for the most part, these are going into some of my journals that are coming up. So that's my process. I just wanted you to see how I work, how my desk looks when I'm working, and how, you know, you only see this much of my desk on any normal given day. My friend Lori and my friend Thelma have seen my desk. Although I have cleaned it up in their case. But this is how I do things, and I just thought I would just share it with you. So that's it. That's all. Have yourself a very creative day and a creative week, and I will talk to you all soon. Bye for now.